Mute, damn it. Sorry, welcome guys. Welcome back to Neeks Sports. This is your Southampton versus Manchester United preview. These lights are very bright. Let me just shine it on my glasses. You lot can't even see my eyes. Sorry about that. Is that any better? That's better. That's better. Yes, welcome back to Neeks Sports. Southampton versus Man United. I mean, for me, it's not going to be an easy game. Playing Southampton is never an easy game for us. Our record against them, well, last year I think we drew twice. It might have actually been 2-2 twice actually. I remember Dan James scored a worldie at their ground, and the back end of last season, we conceded a late equaliser. They took the lead early on, and then we conceded a late equaliser, draw 2-2 in a game that probably would have sealed our Champions League place much earlier. So I'm hoping that this time we don't bottle it. Let's be honest, because in that game there we bottled it. We're seeing teams in the Premier League this season drop points. We know Liverpool, they dropped points today. Obviously, Man City won comfortably against Burnley, absolute battering actually. Riyad Mahrez with a hat trick. Arsenal have dropped points recently against Leeds and Aston Villa. We're currently 2 games in the Premier League, 1 in a row, so we're hoping to make it 3 in a row. So I think this is another test, I would say, a test of the mentality of these players, whether they can take advantage of slippages from rivals. You know, Chelsea and Spurs are playing this weekend, so someone is going to drop points. Arsenal playing Wolves, that's not going to be an easy game for anyone. For either of them. So I think the points will be dropped, obviously, between people might say the top 6 rivals. And the question is, can Man United take advantage of that, or are they going to bottle it again? Now, in terms of the lineup, the video that I've put, I said, will Solskjaer trust Van der Beek? Does Solskjaer even trust Van der Beek? We know he's played a couple of Champions League games. He started a game against Leipzig. He came off the bench, I believe it was against PSV. He started both games against Istanbul. And I mean, the first game against Istanbul, he was one of the better players. It wasn't hard to be. We were that bad. Against Istanbul at home, he was very, very good. Very good in that double pivot next to Fred. Now, I think people saw that lineup when you had Cavani, Martial, and Rashford as the front 3. Cavani through the middle, Rashford on the right, Martial on the left, with Fred and Van der Beek as a double pivot behind Bruno Fernandes. And the way we played, people were very infused by the attacking play, very much infused by the attacking play. Unfortunately, as I said at the time, enjoy the game, enjoy this performance. I can't see it lasting. I can't see this being Solskjaer's go-to in the majority of games this season. This is possibly a team and formation and personnel that he should have picked against West Brom, that type of opposition. Southampton away is a different proposition, completely different proposition. The way that they press, the way that they're able to pass. Big up Bits and Tobes in the comments, a new member of the Football Terrace team. Big up yourself. But yeah, we'll see if Solskjaer. I can't see Solskjaer sticking with the same attacking lineup from the start anyway against most oppositions. I don't think he trusts our defense, especially the centre-back partnership, enough to not protect them, to not give them the protection that he thinks they need. And arguably they do need. We've played Brighton, we played Crystal Palace, we played Spurs, and in all those games, we've been cut open time and time again. And this is when we had Matic, Pogba, Bruno starting. He's gone back to a more solid midfield with McTominay and Fred. He's gone to a diamond at times. And that time, we haven't really conceded many goals. We conceded 1 against Arsenal, 1 against Everton, and 1 against... Or in the Premier League, those are the only 2 goals we... so 1 against Newcastle as well in that game. So, which was an own goal right at the beginning of the game. I can see him reverting to type. He likes the 4-2-3-1. We know we've been crying out for a right winger. He showed that he can play 4-2-3-1 with Marcus Rashford as a right winger against Istanbul. I just don't know if that's the answer going forward. It can work at times, but it's not going to work all the time. What did I say? Did I say bits of? Oh, sorry. You know what? There's a duo, rap duo. What? Not anymore. Called Blitz and Tobes, and that's what when I read that, that's what I thought. I saw Blitz and Tobes, Big Tobes and Blitz, sick rappers in the UK. That's the first one I saw. Well, Bits and Bobs, I don't know. I didn't say Tobes, I said Tobes, by the way. But Bits and Bobs, big up yourself. But yeah, I've got two potential lineups that I think that we could go with in the Southampton game. So this is the first one. So in this game, I've gone with a 4-2-3-1 with Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and Telles as the back four. Now, starting at the back, obviously David De Gea picks himself for me. I know Henderson's good, but David De Gea is the best keeper, the number one keeper at our club. He's been very good this season so far. No reason to drop him, even though every so often I just hear these mentions about, oh, should Henderson play? Should Henderson play? Like, people are really just forcing it for some strange reason. But yes, you've got Lindelof at the back. Now, Lindelof came off at half time against Istanbul with a back injury. So there's a risk about him, and we'll go through the team with other injury news as well. But the risk about him, so you could see Axel Tuanzebe actually start that this game, especially as Tuanzebe is suspended for the PSG game next week, Wednesday. So at the risk of not having Lindelof injured when we're going to need him, possibly to play a back three against PSG, I could see Tuanzebe starting next to Maguire. We'll have to wait and see about that. But that's pretty much the back four. We know Luke Shaw's still out injured as well. Wan-Bissaka also went off. And Brandon Williams came on against Istanbul. I'm hoping it was precautionary because Williams didn't. It was a bit shaky. And I understand he hasn't really played this season. He's nowhere near the level of Wan-Bissaka. If Wan-Bissaka is out, I'd rather see Fosu-Mensah playing that position. I think going forward, yes, Williams is probably better than both of them going forward. But if you're replacing Wan-Bissaka, I'd rather just replace with Fosu-Mensah, who is better defensively than Williams, and you have the outlet of Telles down the left-hand side. But hopefully Wan-Bissaka's fit and available for this game, and of course, the PSG game midweek. Midfield two. Now, against Istanbul on the midweek, Solskjaer basically said that McTominay, he would have been playing. No. I think it was in the press conference that they said that he was not available, and if he was available, he would have been in the squad against Istanbul and in the squad for the Southampton game, which means for me I can see him reverting back to that defensive double pivot. Because McTominay is not available, I expect it to be Matic and Fred. Now, of course, against Istanbul, we had Van der Beek and Fred in that midfield too. And as good as they were on the ball going forward progressively, we left a bit too much out defensively. Istanbul were finding it too easy for my likings, too easy to cut through our midfield, bypass our midfield even, and get crosses into the box, shots from outside the area. And they got a goal from a free kick, but actually hit the bar just after, which could have made it 3-2. They weren't making clear-cut chances, but they were able to have, I think, maybe as many shots in total as we had. We were just much more clinical and able to create clear-cut chances. So against Southampton, who probably are a better team than Istanbul, or more dangerous team anyway, in the way that Ralph Hasenhüttl has them playing, I think he has to go over double pivot. I don't think he can risk putting Van der Beek and Fred back into that midfield. Van der Beek and Fred are a good partnership. I haven't seen enough from both of them defensively to say that they can do the job of Matic and Fred, or McTominay and Fred, plus have the range passing forward. They've got the range. Van der Beek has the range to attack, but defensively, maybe not. And Fred, I don't know if he can do that job alone. I haven't seen that enough. So I expect him to go with Matic and Fred. And to be fair, Matic is not a bad passer. Maybe he's not as quick in terms of his passing, one touch and the move that Van der Beek does, but he's a better passer than McTominay, for example. So at least we've got someone in there who can pass. Bigger Adam Talk Sport in the comments. We're not having any people on today. When we do the review after the match, we'll definitely have people on to talk about the match. So make sure you are here for the live match reaction tomorrow afternoon, and you lot can join. That the link for the streamer will be in the. I'll probably drop it in the comments, but it will definitely be in the description below. So yeah, I'm going with those two in the midfield, Matic and Fred, and I think he's going to go with that as well. He mentioned that McTominay was injured anyway, and he mentioned that Pogba was also injured, so we're not expecting to see them. So the option is becomes Matic or Van der Beek next to Fred. Those are the only options. Up front, so obviously Bruno Fernandes picks himself as well. So there's nothing that we need to really go into that. He's probably first name on the team sheet, if we're going to be honest. First name on the team sheet, the way that he's playing. Now, the front three, I've changed it. And I've actually got two front threes to pick from. So this is the first one I've gone with. So I've gone Martial up front, Rashford on the left, Van der Beek on the right. Van der Beek for me on the right is fine because he did this against Everton where he played a 4-2-3-1, but he put Mata on the right. For me, they're similar players in terms of what they do. They're playmakers. Van der Beek is a playmaker. Mata is a playmaker. But for me, Van der Beek is better. At this stage of his career, he's better. He's more agile. He's more versatile. He can get around the pitch. He's more physical. He's not going to get pushed around in the way that Mata might. And if Mata can play that role, I think Van der Beek can do it. I think he will obviously drift inside and link up with Bruno Fernandes and Martial. Me isn't a problem because generally whoever we play on that right, whether it's Greenwood, whether it's Rashford, they don't hold the width. They're always looking to come inside. Even Rashford on the right with his on his right foot, he's still coming inside. You know the run right at the beginning of the first half against Istanbul. He comes all the way inside down the middle of the pitch and nearly scores. It's their instinct because they are forwards more than wingers. So Van der Beek for me can do that job. He will do more defensively than Mata as well. And I think he has to play. I think he's done enough to say, I'm going to play, regardless of what. He's not going to be in Bruno's position. So it really limits the positions that he can play in. It's either going to be in the 8, in the double pivot, or if you want to change the whole formation into a diamond, which I can't see him doing right now, the other option is to play wide. And I don't see why he can't do it. It's not his favorite position, no. But it's also not Mata's favorite position. Right wing is also not Rashford or Greenwood's favorite position. We're having to make do. And Van der Beek's for me, has to make do. But he has to be on that pitch. I don't care where. He has to be on that pitch. And I'm happy if he's on the right. It's not his best position, but I think he can do a good job out there. Then I've got Rashford on the left and Martial up front. Now, of course, another injury concern is Rashford. Solskjaer's spoken about that. And because of these games piling up, maybe Rashford is not going to be risked. Maybe they're going to go with my other option, where you can see I brought in Tuanzebe for Lindelof because of the injury issue that I spoke about. And then I've gone with Martial on the left and Cavani up front. Cavani started against, well, he came off the bench against Everton and got the goal. He came off the bench against Chelsea and looked very lively in his movement, like a proper striker. And then he started against Istanbul. And again, his movement, very, very much underrated. I spoke about it in my match review of that game in terms of the way that he always stays on the shoulder. He's always pulling away, making and creating space for the people behind. If you're going to have Van der Beek and you're going to have Fernandes, who are going to want to operate in that little number 10 position in between the midfield and defense, then you need your striker to pull away, to make those runs, to give that space. When you got someone like Martial and Rashford in the number 9 position, a lone striker, they're either going to drift out wide or they're going to come to the ball. They want the ball to feet. That's the way they play. They want the ball to feet, especially Martial. He wants the ball to feet and then he can run. But in that number 9 position, you can't. A lot of the times, you're not going to touch the ball. You're going to just be moving, but you have to be in the right position to take that chance. The only issue with Cavani is that can he play 2 games a week? I would be happy if Rashford or Martial is rested for this game. Go with Cavani again. They've had, 4 days rest before this game. Go with Cavani again. And then against PSG, you go with the 2 up front in Rashford and Martial. I would be happy with that completely. Obviously, they know more than me in terms of fitness, whether or not Cavani is available. But if he is fit and able to give, even if it's 70 minutes, from the start. Then you can bring on Greenwood, you can bring on Rashford and make changes, depending on the game situation. I think we should be going with Cavani from the start with Martial on the left. Rashford has an injury issue as well, so you don't want to be risking him. This game is big, but the PSG game is very big as well, because if we don't get a result, a draw or a win in that game, you go away to Leipzig, having to get a result, and it ain't going to be easy. It ain't going to be easy. So the earlier we can qualify from the Champions League group, the better. And I think we have to be thinking about those. So Lindelof for me and Rashford rested for me is not a bad thing. Tuanzebe, I think, can do a job with Maguire. And Martial looked very good, comfortable. I think the reality is Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial are both inside forwards slash Marcus Rashford, I guess inside forward. I think inside forward is their natural position. Now, whether you play that as two split strikers or you play as a free up front and you have him coming off the left, that's their best position. A lone striker, as good as Martial was last season and as good as he can play that role, it's not his natural position, because a person in the natural position, back to goal is their strength, their movement in the box, their heading ability. Those are the strengths. Those are not Martial's strengths. He can do it because he's such a quality player, but it's not his strengths. We saw against Istanbul when he picks up the ball and he's running at people. That is when he's at his best. And I think he will complement that kind of running and movement will complement Cavani a lot. You have Alex Telles coming down the left-hand side with Martial cutting in, so giving that space for the overlap, and he can get crosses into the box. And as I said, I think we've got a lot of games this season. You're going to have to rotate. People are going to have to play in different positions, coming off the bench, starting games in competitions that you might think are lesser when it comes to the Carabao Cup. You're going to have to keep rotating. We can't afford to have an injury crisis like Liverpool. Two reasons. Liverpool got a strong squad and they've got a better manager who can try and cope with that injury crisis. We don't have that. So we can't afford these players to get injured. McTominay and Pogba being out and Luke Shaw, that's enough for us. We can't afford Lindelof and Rashford to be out as well. Bailly's a crock already. So that's already a big risk. Big up Mohammed Tammy's in the chat as well. Bits and Bob says Cavani's our best striker. 100%. I mean, he is. I mean, listen, Cavani's 33 years old, but respect him. He's done his bidding in Europe. He has scored hundreds of goals in Europe, international football. So you have to respect him. We can't just look and say, his age. I know that the circumstances of him joining weren't the best, last-minute free transfer. But right now, Cavani is the best. Now, talent-wise, Greenwood can be a world beater. Greenwood, and as Deepak said, Greenwood's our best striker. I don't think you can say that right now. Greenwood hasn't even played a full season as a striker. I'm talking about as a number 9, not just a full. He hasn't played a full season as a striker. Cavani's been doing it year in, year out. Last season, a few injuries, but before that, fit as a fiddle, scoring goals at all levels. So Greenwood in the future would be our number 9, I think. And maybe he decides to go with Greenwood in this game instead of Cavani as a number 9. But there's also parts of Greenwood's game that isn't yet molded to the perfect number 9. Solskjaer's spoken about his heading, goal ability or lack of headers that he scored. That's something he needs to improve on. I haven't really seen him play back to goal. Remember, a lot of his games for us is played from the right, ball at his feet. He will size up a defender, and obviously he can go both sides. So talent-wise, yeah, Greenwood, cool. But in terms of what they've actually done, Cavani's proved it year in, year out at the top level. So I'm more than happy for Cavani to start this game. Van der Beek has to play. He has to play, but I just think it's a bit of a risk to have him with one defensive midfielder alongside him in the midfield, because the way Istanbul were attacking us, if we allow Southampton that kind of space and opportunities to attack, I think it could cost us more. Now, of course, it might be a straight shootout. We say, well, we attack, you attack, and may the best attack win. But we've done that 3 times this season, and we've lost twice. Palace and Spurs, and then against Brighton, we were lucky to get away with a win. So I don't think Solskjaer's going to do that. It's too big a risk for me, and it's too big a risk for him that I can't see him doing that. His job his job is in a precarious position. A couple bad games, or even one bad game, people are calling for his head. A couple bad games, he could be out of a job. We've won 2 Premier League games in a row. We need to make it 3. Then I think we've got West Ham after PSG, then the Manchester derby. And if Man City are getting into any kind of form, winning 5-0 today, then that might not be as easy as it could have been a couple of weeks ago. And if they're getting a few players, if Aguero's back, Mario scored today, hat-trick, as I said, a few of their defenders coming back, Mendy's back in the team, that's going to be a tough game. So we need to make sure we can capitalize on what are supposedly weak oppositions before that Manchester derby. Comment here from Mohammed says, I get what you're saying, but we all know Oli ain't resting Rashford. Oli said in his presser he likes the balance with Martial, Cavani and Greenwood. So I reckon that's the front 3 with Matic and Fred. If he said that, then that means, because he said Martial, Cavani, Greenwood. So that means Rashford might be rested. He didn't mention Rashford. We shouldn't have to play Rashford every game. Rashford is a brilliant player and he's come up trumps for us time and time again. But if he's injured for PSG, that is big. That is big. We need him for that PSG game, 100%. So I would not mind him being rested for this game. He was rested against Leipzig as well, came off the bench and got a hat-trick. So you reckon the front 3 with Matic and Fred? It's a possibility, but just as I said, Van der Beek has to play, man. I don't think he can keep putting in performances like this and not get a start in the Premier League. Like, what more? There's nothing more he can do. Because if he's not going to start against West Brom in the double pivot, can't see him starting in the double pivot against Southampton, which means that it's going to have to be in the wide positions. But that's for me. But yeah, guys, listen, that's my thoughts. In terms of prediction, drop your prediction in the chat below. Hit this like button as well. Oh, so it's Rashi, Martial, and Cavani. He said, okay, cool. But yeah, it's possible that Rashford will start. Listen, if Rashford is carrying a knock or injury, don't start him. If he's fully fit, start him. Cool, I ain't got a problem. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, drop your predictions in the box. For me, honestly, I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be like a 1-1. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get the win. But as Harry Kane mentions in the chat, their press is very, very good. We struggled against it. We struggled against it at Old Trafford at the back end of last season. We've struggled against teams that have pressed at times, and we could struggle again. So that is the most difficult thing for me. And I think we're going to have those 2 defensive midfielders to protect our centre backs. I'm predicting 1-1, but I hope, as Adam says in the chat, I hope it's 2-1 United. Adam says, so rest Bruno as well. If he gets injured, no chance. Can't rest Bruno. Can't rest Bruno. You rest Bruno in games that you don't have to win. So if we can qualify against PSG, you rest Bruno against Leipzig. Will you rest Bruno in the Carabao Cup? You take him off if we're 3-0 up, for example. You have to start with Bruno. He's on such good form and he's our most important player. Can't rest Bruno at this stage. Deepak says Martial can't play on wings against PSG because we need someone who can track down all the time. I don't think we're going to go with a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 against PSG anyway. I think we'll go over back 5 like we did in PSG. And then Martial and Rashford, like that game, play split strikers. And I think they can do that job well, pressing from the front as well. That's not a problem for me. Mohammed says going with a win. Also, if we win, there's a 100% chance we are 3 to 4 points off Chelsea, not taking Liverpool draw into consideration. Yeah, as I said, listen, points will be dropped this weekend. We already know that Liverpool drop points. Cool, we don't leave Liverpool one side. You know, they're a level above us right now. Spurs and Chelsea are playing each other, so someone has to drop points, if not both. I'll take a draw right now for that. Arsenal playing Wolves. That is that's nowhere near a foregone conclusion for Arsenal. They can easily drop points. Points will be dropped. Leicester playing Fulham. I'm expecting Leicester to batter Fulham. Actually, they're at home. I've actually captained Vardy in my FPL, so he better get a double hat trick or something like that. Yeah, so I think it's not going to be an easy game. Not going to be an easy game. I hope the boys are 100% up for it. They've had a few days rest, more rest than they had last time out. So last time out we had Everton, we had Istanbul away, then we went to Everton on the Saturday afternoon kickoff, and they put in a very good performance there. So having played on the Tuesday and now playing on a Sunday afternoon, there's no excuse for them not to be up. There's no excuse for them not to be given 100% in terms of energy and performance. But that's my thoughts on the game, guys. As I said, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Follow us on all the social media and share our content. And I'll see you lot soon.